In this lesson, we will talk about creating linear functions to model data. So what we mean by that is that we have quite a few real-life situations where we can actually write a linear equation to model what's happening in the situation. Later, we'll talk about quadratic models or exponential models, but for now, we'll stick with linear. And in linear, we usually have that b term, which is the constant term. So what I'm looking for in a question is a one-time fee or something that doesn't change no matter how many of something else happens. Like if I were joining a gym, the initiation fee just happens one time. The slope of the line is the rate of change. What you're looking for there is something that increases for every additional something else. So let's take a look. In this question, we have a speeding ticket as 150 plus 5 for every 1 mile per hour over the speed limit. So looking at the two values that they give me, this 150 is a one-time thing. It starts at 150, but I add $5 for every additional 1 mile per hour over the speed limit. That's going to be my slope, which is going to be multiplied by x. Notice here they even tell me that x is miles over the speed limit, so it would make sense that I would multiply $5 times every mile over the speed limit. So my linear function using my constant value and my changing value would be s of x, which is the same as saying y equals, and then 5 times x, so $5 for every mile over the speed limit, plus that 150 that we started with. So that is my linear model. So that's not super difficult, and notice most of the time it's going to end up being in that slope-intercept form when we write it. When we're using that to solve a problem, it's important to understand the value that they give you. Are they replacing s of x with that value, or are you replacing x with that value? So in this case, it says find x, which means I'm not plugging it in for x, I'm solving for x, when s of x equals 300. So I'm replacing s of x with 300 and rewriting the rest of my function. And now I'm just going to solve. So I'll subtract 150 from each side, and then I'll divide by 5 on each side, and I get 30 equals x. Now this is a story problem, so it's important to understand what's happening in a story problem. It says interpret the meaning in the context of the problem. So the context of the problem says when x is 30, s of x is 300. So when x is 30 means that x, which is miles over the speed limit, so when I drive 30 miles per hour over the speed limit, the cost of the ticket is $300. So write that out as a sentence. I'm not going to do that for the sake of time. But when x is 30, so when I'm driving 30 miles per hour over the speed limit, the cost of my ticket is $300. Here's another question for us to try together. We are starting a lawn mowing business, and to do that, we have to purchase a self-propelled mower that is $308. On average, we're spending $2 per house, or we could say per yard, on gas and oil, and you're charging $30 per lawn. So whenever I see that per, I know that I'm probably going to end up having a slope of some sort. So this will be an m, and this will be an m, and this is a one-time fee of b. But we know that the slope-intercept formula that you just need one m. So let's take a look at what we're asked to do here. For the first, we're asked to write a cost function for the business. So what's the cost of running my business? So is $308 a cost? Yes, it is. Is $2 per house a cost? Yes, because I'm spending $2. Is $30 per lawn a cost? No, that's how much I'm making. So that's not going to go in part A for the cost function. So my cost is $2 times every lawn or every house plus the $308 for the mower. So that's my one-time fee and then $2 per lawn. The other one says write a revenue function. So revenue is, instead of the amount coming out, your cost, it's the amount coming in. So my revenue would be $30 per lawn. So 30x. There's no one-time fee, so it's just $30 every lawn that I mow. Let's use those on the next page to answer some questions about this situation. So I've rewritten our two equations that we came up with on the other screen up at the top of our page. And now we're asking for profit or loss. So it's important to understand how profit is calculated. To find the profit, we'll call that P of X. It would make sense that I would take my revenue, how much is coming in, minus my cost, whatever's coming out. And if it ends up being positive, then my revenue is positive, which means I'm making money. And if it's negative, that means I'm losing money. So if I'm trying to find the profit, if I mow 100 lawns, I'm finding P of 100, which means I'm finding R of 100, so 30 times X. We'll just go ahead and write R of 100 to begin with, minus C of 100. R of 100 is 30 times X. C of 100 is 2 times 100 plus 308. Notice I'm putting all of that in parentheses because I'm subtracting all of that from this. 30 times 100 is 3,000. Over here, 2 times 100 is 200 plus 308. And so I get 300 minus 508, which means my profit is $2,492. So that's my profit for 100 lawns. So I've made enough money to pay for my mower and for all of the gas and oil and still come away with some money. For the next question, it says, what's the minimum amount of lawns you can mow to turn a profit? So now I have to think about making a profit that is basically 0. So I'm basically saying 0 equals R of X minus C of X. Or if I move that C of X to the other side, C of X equals R of X. So let's find out when the two are equal to each other. So let's make C of X equal to R of X. We'll subtract the 2x from each side. And then we'll divide by 28. And I end up with 11. So what does 11 mean? 11 means that if I mow 11 lawns, that I make $0. The revenue is exactly equal to the cost at 11 lawns. The question says, what's the minimum amount of lawns you can mow to turn a profit? So when do I start making money? I start making money at 12 or more lawns. Here's one for you to try on your own. So try this question and then press play to check your work. So I have a local hardware store that's charging $28 for a carpet cleaning machine for 24 hours and then $10.98 for each medium-sized bottle of rug shampoo. So write a linear function that represents the cost of renting the machine for X days. So looking up at this, we have to determine which is the B value and which is the M value. So if X is days, it would make sense that I would be taking X times the 28, since it's $28 basically per day. So this is my M value that I'll multiply by X. $10.98 would be my B value, but I have to pay attention to how many medium-sized bottles of rug shampoo they purchase. So I'm writing a linear function S, so S of X, that represents the cost of renting the machine for X days, along with 2 bottles of rug shampoo. So for X days, it would be 28 times X. For 2 bottles of shampoo, it would be 2 times $10.98. So I would write my final answer as 28X plus $21.96. So 2X plus $21.96. Oh, looks like I forgot my 8. So it's 28X plus $21.96. Now I'm going to evaluate S of 3 and interpret. So evaluating S of 3, not super difficult. We say S of 3 equals 28 times 3 plus 21.96, which you can use our calculator to help us find. So I get S of 3 equals 84 plus 21.96. So S of 3 equals 105.96. Now, not important for me to label it down here because I'm going to write my sentence. It says evaluate S of 3 and interpret the meaning in the context of the problem. So by plugging in 3, that tells me that was 3 x's, so 3 days. And S of x is then 105.96. So the cost for renting the machine for 3 days is $105.96. So that would be the sentence that I would write. And again, I'm just interpreting that I plugged in 3 and 105.96 came out. So the total cost of renting the machine for 3 days with 2 bottles of shampoo is $105.96.